here to discuss all things NRL and anything sports related. Please give a warm Aussie g'day to the footy fanatic and America's own Corey Jackson in Outside the Sheds.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome back to Outside the Sheds. Shedheads, after round 22, can we continue to just put our backs on the ropes and continue to take these punches? Because week in and week out, punch after punch after punch keeps getting landed in the NRL. Certain teams fall, certain teams rise, certain teams answer the bell. And that's what we love on a week-to-week basis in this game. Now, the thing is, it magnifies as we get later in the season like we are right now, because every victory and every loss has seismic shifts in the top 8, has seismic shifts on teams trying to get to the top 8. And like I said, this is why this time of year, the game becomes so important. And kind of why I've been on a roll a little bit the last few weeks about some of the bunker and some of the referee calls and decisions, because I want the players to answer it. I want all of these teams to be able to run out on the field with full rosters, because already with injuries, these teams are not going to be filling. Right now, look at the Panthers right now. They don't even have, Dylan hasn't even played since Origin. And you just look how they just continue to play and step up to the plate, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm saying is you want the best teams, your Dylan Edwards, players like that to be in the roster. So anyway, let's go into a recap of round 22. Your Shedadamus, 5 for 8, back in those winning forms again, bobbing and weaving, making contact. But the round started off with the Leichhardt hoodoo. Cowboys versus the Tigers. The Cows, for whatever reason, having problems winning at Leichhardt. But that changes. 48-30, Cows take down the Tigers. And you have to admit, the Tigers once again showed up. They played an all right brand of footy, but they just don't have the strike. They made a big comeback push, but they just couldn't get on the top of Talagi's treble. And the Cows continue their march forward, continuing to push their place in the 8, and pretty much solidifying, because I'm kind of looking at the numbers right now, and I think 8th is the best position teams are all going to be fighting for. I think 7 and above are safe unless somebody just falls off the side of a mountain, but that is what it's looking like right now. Eels 30, Warriors 20. This is a strange match because you had a rocking sellout crowd at Mount Smart Stadium. Everything the Warriors had to play for. And instead, the Eels come out looking like the team, looking like they're fighting for a place in the 8. And this is the thing that drives Warriors fans crazy, is that whole feeling that at the big moment, sometimes they just lay an egg. And then at the end of the season, they're looking to try to make up and catch up, playing incredible football because they have to play it to get in. I was also a little shocked that Tamery Martin was left out of the lineup. I thought he had been playing very well in the 7. Chanel Harris-Savita getting the nod at the 6 instead of Tamery Martin, and putting Sean Johnson back in the 7. I think I've said this before. I love Sean Johnson, one of my favorite players of all times. But this Sean Johnson we're watching this season is not even the Sean Johnson from last year. And we found out later on, which we're going to go into when we get into the 40-20, why that might be the case. But I think it was a really questionable call. I also think that playing RTS not back in the fullback position is really cost the Warriors. And I don't think that they can really do what they need to do with Chance Nickel-Klokstad in the fullback position. But anyway, Eels, you have to really say that they put together an incredible match, especially with all the rumblings that are going on right now behind the scenes. Even talks about Mitchell Moses maybe breaking contract, losing Blaze, all that stuff. Great match. They looked great. And like I said, Dom, Blue and Gold Army, congratulations. Roosters 40, Dolphins 34, under the lights of Western Australia, Perth. Here's the NRL, right? Well, I think they got the match they were looking for because points were put up. But Hollywood Walker, once again, even though he does look like a Quaker with that beard, just for whatever reason has this magician-type way of getting the Chooks and steering them around the park and getting them in the win column. It is strange right now. Everyone's heard that right now he is trying to get a contract with the Chooks. And there's a lot of players that are going to be falling off here in the very near future for some pretty big clubs that are going to be looking for a halfback. I know the Roosters usually get their man, but I got to admit, when you watch Sam Walker play the game and he's in full strike, it's hard to not see him being, if they get to November 1st, a lot of people are going to be chasing this guy. So, great match for the Roosters. Again, that defense kind of letting them down. I think this could be a major factor and a reason why possibly they could have trouble winning and lifting the trophy at the end of the season. But they've got the strike to score with anybody. But big victory in Western Australia. Titans 46, Broncos 18. Biggest crowd at CBUS since 2018. Sees, that's right, the Gold Coast Titans win 3 on the trot against their bitter rivals, the Brisbane Broncos. We're not going to go into this too much in just this quick recap because I want to do a full breakdown of this match and talk about the Titans and how impressive they have been for me this second half of the season. Dragons 18, Storm 16, the hoodoo, another hoodoo broken. 25 years of hoodoo was the last time, 25 years ago, that the Dragons won down in Melbourne. What a match, though. I'm saying we had matches this round that felt like they were finals matches. And I think that's all we can ask for is players leaving it all out there. I didn't even pick. Your Shedadamus didn't even pick the Dragons to win the match. But you have to start sinking. Yeah, people are sinking, all right. You have to start thinking that for whatever reason, the Dragons, under the new coaching staff, have shown us something we haven't seen from them for a while. Flano has something over Bellyache. He, for whatever reason, knows how to play the game, to coach his team, what to aim for. Because that was impressive. I'm saying Ben Hunt hasn't looked that good and that on form for a while. So you could even probably say that he didn't even look that strong in the last 2 games of State of Origin. But it looks like that hangover has worn off, and he played a really, really, really incredible game. So much so he was up for gun of the round. That's how well that he played in that match. But huge victory for the Dragons. And you have to wonder, for their psyche, does that now make them feel like they can take on anybody in the competition and really push for that 8th position? Sharks 20, Rabbitohs 6. Sharks keeping that playoff hope alive. Big loss, though. Braden Trindle is out this week because of an Achilles strain. But, again, the Rabbitohs are doing everything they possibly can, but they are just not the same team without Latrell Mitchell out on the field. Cody Walker, those are some important pieces they have to have. But the Sharks, again, maybe not the most impressive-looking victories, but they're getting the victories they need to keep in the top 4 currently. Panthers 22, Knights 14. To me, in a game mired by horrible high contact calls, again, I don't want to see anybody injured. But when you have marginal touching of the head from arms slipping off shoulders or up chests, I think we're missing the whole process of what we're trying to do to protect the players. Because if it was so important, we'd have all these guys wearing helmets. And nobody's looking for these guys to be wearing helmets. So you have to understand that type of wear and tear could happen. But if somebody starts with swinging arms and going with brutal high contacts, that's the stuff we should be looking for. Anyway, I don't want to go into that right now, but to me, it really did take away from the game a little bit. The Panthers are going to do what the Panthers are going to do. They got the victory, and it might have just sealed the fate for the Knights this season. They just don't seem like they're a team that is really just on the same page. It's really sad because that last 10 games of last season when they were just firing, Bradman Best was playing, Jackson Hastings was teaming well with Tyson Gamble, and it was an exciting brand of footy. It saved Adam O'Brien's job, but it looks like we're back to square one with this team, and they just look like they're lost. Bulldogs 22, Raiders 18. Arguably the match of the round. I don't know if Belmore is still on fire. I don't know if anybody saw the celebrations that took place in Belmore. I wanted to get on a speakerphone and tell the crowd that they did not just win the grand final. That's right. You did not just win the grand final. You did just beat Ricky's Raiders. Yes, great victory. But with the burnouts in the streets and shaking of cars, dude, I think that it was the first time we've had possible seismic tremors in Belmore for a while. But it's impressive. You can't take anything away from that performance. This is not I think the last time we saw a Bulldogs squad, look this strong was 14 possibly. But they look like they believe. Seraldo's got them all on board. And to me, they've got maybe the best leader in the NRL. And I'll stand by that under Crichton. So big victory for the Dogs. Congratulations. To me, it sets up a just monumental game to close out Super Saturday with the boys from Belmore going down to Cogger to take on the Dragons and Shane Flanagan. A lot of backstory in that match. So really, really excited. Now, Shedheads, as I said, we were going to do a little bit of a breakdown of these Titans, these Gold Coast Titans, right? They're Titans. And I have to say, it was so cool watching the match. You know that me and Mrs. Shedadamus were guests of honor for the Titans during the Manly match. The Frizzels were just beyond awesome. I'm saying we were treated like royalty when we were there, and it was very, very humbling. Such an incredible family. But to see the dancing and the celebration and watching Gordy leaning on the wall, taking in that match, where his heart's dragged in two different directions in some cases, it was just an impressive match. That team showed me so much, especially for a team that started the season 0-6, that people would just pretty much put the skull and crossbones on them, after round 6. But it was a masterclass performance by the Titans that we experienced on Saturday. They were down 12-0. And if you think about this, again, those first 6 rounds, if that Titans team was down 12-0, it would have been game, set, and match. It would have been done, right? But then to go into half down 18-10, still down 8, you didn't feel like they were out of the match whatsoever. You almost had the sensation, the feeling, even though the Broncos had a lot to play for, you would even say almost more to play for than Gold Coast, except for your Shedadamus did pick the match. Don't forget, he did pick the Titans. That wasn't the case. And that second half, brilliant footy all the way around. Outscoring the Broncos 36-0 after the halftime break. We found a new rock star. Who would have ever said after round 6 that a guy that hadn't even appeared yet, Keanu Kenny, would have outplayed Reece Walsh in a head-to-head matchup? And he did. I'm saying it was incredible. The numbers here for Keanu Kenny: 2 tries, 202 running meters, 1 line break assist, 2 try assists, and 5 tackle breaks. I have to say, and I'm going to stand on the Jackson Mount Rushmore right now and say that the fullback position is fully in the hands of Keanu Kenny going forward. Nothing against A.J. Brimson. We already know that Jaden Campbell looks really good in the 6 jersey, and he's holding down that, and I think that is going to be his position for a very long time with the Gold Coast Titans. But then you go with Jojo Fafita. Not even the Fafita a lot of people were talking about after, leading up to round 6 because of the talk about him possibly going to the Panthers or to the Chooks, David Fafita. No, the Fafita we're talking about is Jojo Fafita. 3 tries, 138 running meters, 3 line breaks, 3 try assists, and 4 tackle breaks. I'm saying these guys, the Desi way, all right? In America, they always say the Patriots way when the Patriots are winning, right? But it's the Desi way. I don't think a lot of people thought that it was going to take Desi as long as it did. And I don't think a lot of people thought that the Titans, well, everyone knew the Titans were in shambles. So I don't know what I was saying when I said I don't think. Stop saying that. But the Titans were a mental case. Even the match when we were at there, with the cutout pass that cost them the match against Manly. A bad cutout pass, right? It was just that type of talk. And then being down in the sheds, that team just, I wouldn't say they were crushed, but they just didn't think that they could get any luck in their way. And with Tino out, AJ not playing most of the season, and looking how this team has come together and what they're playing, I think it showed me with Kieran Foran, the way that he was so emotional after the match at the interview. It was a beautiful thing to see. Because don't forget, Kieran Foran has been at the top of the world in the NRL. All right, that 2011 grand final, him and DCE and the boys winning that championship. He's been there before. But the cool thing about Kieran Foran is that he has been in some really tough times in his career. He's had some really tough moments. And to see where he's at now, to see how the footy he's playing, and I think, again, the thing that I really, really love is watching a Kieran Foran playing footy healthy. By this time of the season, usually he's held together by duct tape. But not now. Kieran Foran is looking the part. He's leading this team from the front, and his body is holding up. And most people will say that's the thing that they've always wanted to see with Kieran Foran, because he plays the game on pins and needles, and usually he's got a couple needles in him to help him get through the pain. But that really showed me everything, that interview, and the belief that he said this team has, knowing what they have in front of them. And if you look at it, they're 4 points right now out of the 8th, right? And 5 matches remaining. They've got the Sharks at home, the Dragons on the road, the Roosters at home, the Knights and the Panthers to finish the season both on the road. If they make it to the finals, they will be one of the most dangerous teams in the finals. Because to go through that murderer's row to get to the promised land, they will have to play their best footy. And they will have to do it 5 straight weeks to make it into the final. So to say that I am beyond excited to watch what really fully happens with this team, it is an understatement. And that I actually led my breakdown in not talking about the hoodoo too much down in Melbourne, which that was an incredible experience to be a part of and watch, and maybe the best game of the round. But this team, there's something special about this Gold Coast Titans team. And I think right now, again, they're everybody's second favorite team. If your team doesn't win, you kind of look at that Gold Coast team and you root for them because you know where they've been, and it's been a long time since Gold Coast has sold out a stadium, like I said, 2018. But to play that brand of football, you think as long as they stay healthy, they can beat anyone in the competition. And I'm going to stand by that, saying that. They can beat anybody in the competition. So, incredible match, incredible well, and congratulations again to the Brazil family. And you deserve to do a lot of dancing, so keep on doing it. Now, as we go into the 40-20, I would be lying to say that I didn't see this coming, because I did. I think we all saw it coming. And that is New Zealand Warriors halfback Sean Johnson announcing his retirement from the game at the end of the season. The reason I said that I think we all saw it coming is because the thing that we loved about Sean Johnson was his natural off-the-cuff brand of football. I think the last time I remember seeing that there was over 1 million hits on that touch football play when he was playing touch footy, and 5 guys missed him as he scored a try, right? That was Sean Johnson's, coming to the party video. And wow, did you see this guy? Of all the players that I've watched in the NRL, Sean Johnson is the closest thing that I have seen to that Benji Marshall flair, where he had the step, he had the speed, he had the ability to try plays that most people wouldn't think about trying. I will always remember the first time I saw Sean Johnson, 2011 season, and the Warriors just getting on his back and him leading them all the way to the grand final, where they finally eventually lost to Manly and DC and the boys. But it just, it is hard to fathom that just a year ago, Sean Johnson, to me, was the Dally M Player of the Year. I really, nothing against Kalen Ponga's season, but Sean Johnson, to me, had that season. And I know it was crushing for him to lose that, because I think myself and a lot of people thought that he had it won. But 2024 just hasn't been that same way. And, Sean even said that right now everything's going well, but there's no guarantee about anything. And I think we all just, thought that he was just going to parlay that 2023 season and come into 2024. Everything, all the writing on the wall looked like the Waz were going to just take over the world. And most people had them picked in the top 4, yours included, had them in the top 4 to be there at the end of the season. And this Achilles strain, injury, whatever you want to say, has cost him. He's not attacking the line at all. He's not running the ball at all. And I really feel that is why I believed that the Tamery Martin and Chanel Harris-Zavita half combination was the best thing for the Warriors, because both players could attack the line. Both of them had no problems running. And with Sean, I just never felt like he was ready to take a step. And none of us will know how bad this Achilles injury is that he's playing with right now. And if it's in his mind that he knows that he's only 5 games away from his career being over, maybe he's telling himself that there's no way that he's not going to try to play. But whatever it is, he has not been the same player. And when you remember some of his highlights, like, again, that try that he pulled off at Wembley Stadium to put the Kiwis in the final, when he scored it, when he beat 3 guys and scored a try against England at Wembley and broke the hearts of England, is a moment that I will never forget. But the reckless abandon that he played with at times, and the ability that he thought that he could beat anybody, was what made him such an incredible player. He wins the Golden Boot in 2014. He's on top of the world, right? But then 4 years later, he's out of the Warriors. He has a falling out. He goes to Cronulla, plays for the Sharks, has a couple good seasons there. But a lot of people did not see the homecoming coming with him going back to the Warriors, which I think was so brilliant and so awesome to see, because I really wish he would have never left the Warriors and would have been a one-team player. But we know how the game is, and it isn't always fairy tales and fairy dust. But those are the things. But if you look at his numbers, 265 NRL appearances, 221 of them with the Waz, and 44 with the Sharks. I think in my selfishness, I'm just sad that I'm not going to see him in a Waz jersey in Vegas in 2025. I think I was really eager for that. But as the season continued to roll on, I just had this sneaking suspicion that was never going to come to fruition, that this was probably going to be the end. And he's got a beautiful family now. He's got a wife. He's got a couple kids. And everything changes. Everything changes when you have a family like that. And he has other reasons to live. So I'm curious to see in what capacity Sean Johnson stays in the game. A lot of people have been saying time and time again, there's a lot of young men that have picked up the rugby league ball because of watching Sean Johnson play for the Warriors. I've got probably, about 12 Warriors jerseys, and pretty much all of them is because of Sean Johnson, and they're all jerseys from when Sean Johnson played with the club. So it's going to be a sad moment, but like I said, I try to, on this show, try to stay positive. So we just have to think about all the great moments that Sean Johnson provided the NRL and the rugby league world. So congratulations on an incredible career. And who knows? Maybe the Waz win 5 in a row and we're still talking about him here in a few weeks' time. But Great career for Sean Johnson. Now, the 2024 Hall of Fame class has been announced for this season, and we've got 2 rock star coaches that are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We have Jack Gibson, the man that made the fur coat popular, or how should I say, look cool. And then we had old Clint Eastwood himself, Wayne Bennett, leading this class into the Hall of Fame. Jack Gibson is way before my time, but the crazy thing about Jack Gibson is, even though I never watched the man coach one match, now Dom is on the other, Dom still tells me all the time when he was a kid growing up watching the Eels dominate under him, and that's why he became a big fan. But I wasn't there. I wasn't on that boat yet, so I didn't get to see it. But I will tell you, looking at Jack Gibson in the sunglasses, the Greg Brady afro, and that fur coat, to me, nothing says rock star more than that look. And every time they show the pictures of him, of Jack Gibson with that look, you go, damn, look at that dude right there. But the good thing about Jack Gibson is he is a champion. He won 3 championships in a row with the Parramatta Eels, 81, 82, and 83. And he finished his coaching career with a winning percentage of 62.2. Let me tell you something. You don't tell me the West Tigers wouldn't love to have a coach right now with a 62.2 winning percentage? Yeah, exactly. A lot of teams would. So that is one of the coaches in. The other coach going into the Hall of Fame this year is one that we all know. And I have definitely seen coach. And a lot of people have seen coach. And that is old Clint Eastwood himself, Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett has coached 933 games. And that coaching career has spanned the Raiders, the Broncos, the Dragons, the Knights, the Rabbitohs, and the Dolphins. Now again, when Wayne was the king of the hill and rocking everything up and winning championships after championships after championships, that was when he was at the Broncos. A little BC before me, before Corey. But I was in country when he led the Dragons to the championship in 2010 over the Chooks, the Sydney Roosters. And a lot of people that were Dragons fans, that was what I kind of noticed right then, is that he had got the Red V so excited. The fan base of St. George Illawarra is so excited to be back on top, because a lot of times people have forgotten how great of a franchise and club that had been, especially before the merger of the 2 clubs. But he got that reinstilled, but then kind of like a ghost, kind of like Kaiser Soze himself, he was gone. Just a couple seasons there. And then, he goes with the Rabbitohs, and now he's with the Finns. But the man just got done signing a 3-year coaching gig to continue his coaching pedigree, continue to lead. And like I said, a lot of people are right now looking and going, why did he leave South Sydney in the beginning? Why would he not just stayed there? Because they're doing everything in their power to bring him back, which they have now solidified and brought them back. But he's made the Dolphins relevant right out of the gate. Now, yes, they didn't make the finals last year, but they're fighting right now to make it in the 8. And it'll be interesting to see if he can pull that Clint Eastwood magic and get them back in the winning column and get them trying to shoot up the charts and stay in the 8. But an incredible coach. Incredible. And if you look at all the players that he's led and men's lives that he's changed because of his coaching, he is one of the greats. 6 titles to his name with the Broncos and 1 with the Dragons. He's a championship coach. And like I said, I think he's still around to make some more memories before it's all said and done. The other inductees are broadcasters Frank Hyde and David Morrow, and John Quayle and Ken Arthurson, who are legendary administrators of the game. So a pretty impressive 2024 Hall of Fame class, and something, like I said, congratulations to these men, because when you give so much of yourself for that, for something you love and a sport you love, it is nothing better than being honored with Hall of Fame. So congratulations to those gentlemen. Now, as we go in around 23, we've got some incredible matchups, just like we were talking about. We started off with Thursday night, Storm versus the Rabbitohs. Chuck, are you kidding me, Shedheads? I'm going with the Storm all day. No Latrell. It looks like Cody Walker is going to play, but the Storm, after a loss last week to the Dragons, bellyache has been brutalizing these guys, and they're going to have a point to prove. So I've got the Storm. Friday, Sharks versus the Titans, a match that I'm really interested to watch. I'm still going to take the Titans. I'm on the Titans train. And especially with Braden Trindle out, and it looks like Braley is going to play in the halves in his absence. But I think the Titans are just playing too strong, and I've got them winning that match. The Battle of the West, I know Dom is going to have a couple beers in him, but the Panthers versus the Eels, I'm going to go with Black Magic, the boys at the foot of the Blue Mountains. I think the Panthers, this is their time of year. I think, yes, the Eels played some inspiring footy last week, but I think they're going to run into true dominance taking on the Panthers on Friday night. Saturday, Super Saturday, we started off with a huge match down the nation's capital. Sea Eagles versus the Raiders. What do we always say? Sticky gets his boys up at this time of the year, but I think the problem that they're going to have is that the Sea Eagles are coming off their bye round. They're rested, they're healed up. Croker's back, I think, going to play in the dummy half position. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know he is back. So they've got some big pieces coming back for Manly, and I think it's just enough to get him over the top to get a victory over Ricky's boys. Broncos versus the Cowboys. That shows you how crazy this season is right now. That the battle for Queensland isn't the talk of the town right now, and it's kind of an also-ran match. But the match is in Townsville. The Cows have a lot more to play for. The Broncos, again, are on life support. But without Ezra Mam on the team, it's going to be really tough. So I've got the Cows beating the Broncos and continuing the misery in Brisbane. Then we have the match. Bulldogs versus the Dragons. A sellout. What a match this is going to be. I will admit right now, I have not been so excited for a Dogs and Dragons match, maybe in the history of me watching this game. But I am 100% in for this match. This is going to be an incredible match. It could be one for sure I have a feeling we're going to be talking about on next week's episode in detail. But there's something about Flano in these big games late in the season. I've got the Dragons holding serve. I think he's going to bring up the last time the Dragons had a home match, the week before the big victory against Melbourne and how they just laid an egg against Penrith. I think Flano will be instilling and driving that point home. I think the Dragons are going to come out, they're going to be switched on, and they're going to win a tight one, but they're going to beat the Bulldogs to hold serve. Sunday, Warriors versus the Dolphins. It's a must-win. To me, the only question on the table is, are the Warriors motivated? Are the Warriors ready to send Sean Johnson out a winner? Or is Wayne Bennett going to get the Dolphins back on track to do this finals push? I keep going back and forth with this. Originally I was gonna go with the Warriors, but I'm taking the Dolphins on this. I just for some reason believe that they have a little bit more strike in the park, and the match is, it is in Australia. It's not down at the sold-out stadium down at Mount Smart. So I'm going with the Dolphins for the victory there. And then finally, the match everybody wants to see, Tigers versus the Knights. You have to say maybe two of the biggest teams, maybe besides the Eels, but the Eels won last week. Maybe the two biggest teams in turmoil right now. But I'm going to say this right now. I think the Tigers will get up for this match. I think that the team believes a little bit more in what's going on there than what's going on in Newcastle. I think the Tigers get a victory and get back in the win column. Now, for the gun of the round, I was back and forth with a few players. But I will say right now, maybe behind Nathan Cleary, I think the second best player in the competition is Stephen Crichton. He willed the Dogs to that victory. That first try that he did when he just mansgamed everybody and just muscled his way in for the try was pretty darn impressive. But he finished up with 2 tries, 83 running meters, 1 line break, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks, 10 tackles made, and 68 kicking meters. Stephen Crichton is the captain of captains right now because Nathan Cleary kind of shares the captaincy roles with Isaiah Yeo for the Panthers, but this team is Stephen Crichton's team, and he's a winner through and through. And I think that's what's got the Dogs just as this immovable force right now because they are following this guy who does not know how to lose, and they're following him down the track. So that is my gun of the round. Now, are you ready, Shedheads? On the mark. That's right. You heard it right. On the mark. It's been a while since we had this segment, but with 2 faces of the game announcing retirement this week, there was no way that I could not pay respects to these 2 players that have said it's their time in the game. And it really kind of hits me in the heart for one of them that I'm about ready to talk about, but truthfully 2 of them. Because my first memory of the game is watching the great Tom Hawkins of the Geelong Cats kicking a goal against Hawthorn in 2011. And it made me follow the hoops a little bit with Geelong because the passion of those early 2010 matchups between Geelong and Hawthorn, those were some matches. Those were some matches that I will always remember. Exciting, the back and forth, the trash talking. It was what we look for in sport. Rivalries, real deep animosity between clubs. And again, that was my first memory of the game, was that kick by Tom Hawkins. But Tom Hawkins has decided to hang up the boots at the end of the season after 18 seasons with Geelong. 18 seasons. And if you think about the game of AFL, Aussie Rules Football, 18 seasons with that type of wear and tear. And we watched Hawkins kind of transform his body as well, because he was a lot more of a husky guy, especially early on. And he's kind of transformed his body over the last 5 years because he knew that he had to lose weight and to get more streamlined to continue to play longer. And he did it. And to me, that shows you a player right now that knows that you cannot continue to do the same things day in and day out if you're going to continue to have greatness. And Tom Hawkins changed the way he ate, he changed the way that he trained, and he changed his body to continue to play the game that he loved. Hawkins has played 359 games with Geelong, passing Selwood. And everybody knows what Geelong fans think of Joel Selwood, one of the greats of the game. But he passed him in round 11 this season with the 359 game mark. 3 premierships in 09, 11, and 22. A lot of people remember that 22 because, Selwood riding off into sunset after that. And he's kicked 796 goals, which is 13th all time. We know that he's been out a lot this season with this foot injury. Not 100% sure if he's going to see the field anymore. I would say with the competitor that Tom Hawkins is, that he will be back on the field this year for Geelong. I just don't know if anybody knows when. But an incredible career for Tom Hawkins. He's got a beautiful family now. And when you play 18 seasons for a club, something tells me that his future is going to be working for the Geelong Football Club somewhere down the track in some type of capacity. And then there's this guy, the King Tiger, the man, the myth, the legend, and that is the great Dustin Martin. I will be a liar if I did not admit that Dustin Martin has been my favorite player in the AFL, and it's not even close. I can't tell you how many times Mrs. Shedadamus is in the room and I haven't gone, "It's Dusty," to her, and her just shake her head like I'm insane. Dustin Martin, to me, was one of those players, when you watched him, you were saying, this guy is something special. This guy gets the game. It moves at a different pace for him. From the don't argue that we all love to watch, I guess unless you hated Richmond, where he would just throw guys off him. And at the ease that he'd push players away from him. To see him see the field the way that he did, it mesmerized me watching Dusty play the game. And it made me support the yellow and black forever. I'm saying, how could you not? For me, with Jack and Kachi and so many of those players, they were a generation club where their 3 premiership victories, lifting the trophy, were just something that I will always remember. And Dustin Martin was the major catalyst of it. He just was impressive in so many ways. Playing 302 games for the club. I was worried, I will admit to you, Shedheads, I was worried that because of his love for Dimma, and when Dimma went up to the Gold Coast Suns, that he was going to follow there. And even though I'm sad to see that he has called it time on his career, I'm very, very happy that he's saying, just like Kachin, just like Jack, a one-club man. Now, I know everything changes, and maybe Dustin Martin's a player that misses the buzz, but I just don't think that's the case. I think when a guy like that, who doesn't like the limelight, who doesn't like the media, says that it's time, that it's time. I will also admit that I think that Dustin has never been the same player since the loss of his father. And I know how this feels because I've told you guys before, I lost my parents when I was 13 and 16. And it was very, very tough for me to stay motivated. I was a very, very good runner. I was a miler. And there was something special about looking into the stands and the crowd when I would win a race and seeing my mother's face. It was just, it was everything for me. And I think I'm not the only athlete that it means a lot to look up in the crowd and to be able to celebrate those type of victories with the person that you love, a parent, a wife, whatever, husband, whatever. And Dusty, I just had this real sense that there was an emptiness in him after his father's passing. The guidance, the calming influence of being able to talk to his father, even though his dad was back in New Zealand. I think it just really didn't break him because Dustin Martin still had some memorable moments after his father's passing. But I can't say that his heart was 100% in the game after that loss. So then you go into the fact of, like any athlete, any player that plays the physical brand of footy that Dusty played, that injuries are finally going to get you. And with the lacerated kidney that he had, he lost a bunch of weight. It was scary. And anytime you hear the word laceration, and you're not talking about just a cut on your arm, but a vital organ inside your body, that is scary. I don't care who you are. That makes you really, really kind of look at your mortality and look at yourself differently. And it's been tough for him after that. I'm saying finally, I think the last straw was his back and just kind of the failing of the Richmond Football Club right now and how they've just kind of taken a downward turn. I think that was enough. And I think that was reason and the perfect time for him to say that, he got to his 300 game mark, played 2 more games after that. And I know when you start losing all of your friends, your brothers that you've been in the fight with, and he's lost Jack and he's lost Trent, and a lot of guys have left from that core group of Richmond. I know it was tough for him to continue. And you knew that Dustin Martin didn't want to be there for a rebuild because he's not that type of guy that wants to put the captain armband on and wants to just scream guys down and get guys firing. He's a guy that played to lead from the front and follow me, follow what I'm doing, and just follow me down the field. But it caught me, because of where I'm at. When I got the news, it was like way early in the morning, and it kept me up another 2 hours. I was just thinking about how a part of my life, in the standpoint of players that we just love watching, and you just think that's going to continue to go on and on and on. And when it comes to an end, it is a hole in us that we all feel. And I think that's why we love this game so much. I think that is why sport is so important to so many of us, is that we live vicariously so much through so many of these players that when they finally retire, and how you're happy that they can kind of go out on their own accord, it's still sad for us because we look forward to seeing them every week show us greatness. And when you have a player like Dustin Martin, you know that you're watching greatness when you watch them. But looking at his accolades, 3-time Premier Champion, 17, 19, and 20. The only 3-time Norm Smith medalist, the only one in the history of the AFL. 3-time Gary Iris Award winner, which is the best player in the finals. 4-time All-Australian. 2-time Best and Fairest in 16 and 17. And then, the culmination, the 2017 Brownlow. The guy did it all. He did it all. And for me, and this is from the bottom of my heart, I just hope that Dustin Martin finds happiness away from the field that enriches his life and allows him to smile and enjoy it. Because I think he's one of those guys that fights with himself sometimes internally. So an incredible career to Tom Hawkins and Dustin Martin. Both players will be sorely missed. And it was enough for me to go, it's time for a little on the mark, Shedheads. So I hope you enjoyed that breakdown for both these players. But until next week, Shedheads, enjoy round 23. We've got some real doozies on the card. I hope you guys enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you guys, talking to you guys next week. But like I tell you every time we end this podcast, look out for your fellow man and woman out there. Be kind to people. This life is too short. And to go through it with hate in your heart and not trying to look out for everybody, you're missing the point. But until next week, Shedheads, this is Outside the Sheds. I'm your Shedadamus, Corey Jackson. See ya!
And that was another fantastic episode of Outside the Sheds with Corey Jackson, talking all things NRL and all things sports. So please remember to smash the subscribe button and share this with your family and friends and show them what Australian sport is all about.